Hey, everybody, and welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
I am always ready to get into it.
Well, today we're diving into something, well, a little unsettling.
Oh,
Yeah, a little sneaky.
ooh, I like where this is going.
And maybe even, a bit fun.
Okay, you've got my attention. Lay it on me. Today we're talking about troll farms.
Ah, yes. The puppet masters of the internet.
You know those coordinated groups online?
Trying to manipulate opinions.
Right, exactly. It's scary stuff. And it's actually even scarier than you might think.
Oh, how so?
Get this. A shocking 30 governments worldwide are reportedly using troll farms to manipulate public opinion.
Wow, 30. That's a lot more than I would have guessed.
It's wild, right? But we're going even deeper than just the internet today. We're going on a journey through the entire history of political trolling.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating.
We're going way back in time, tracing its roots to, well, you might be surprised where we end up.
I'm intrigued. Let's go. Okay, so first, let's define what we're talking about here. I mean, we hear troll farm thrown around a lot these days, but what exactly is it?
Well, the simplest definition is this. A troll farm is an organized group.
Not just some random people online.
Right, it's an institution, really. A group of internet trolls that seek to interfere in political opinions and decision-making.
So it's organized and strategic.
Absolutely.
They have an agenda, and they're using these tactics to try and push that agenda.
Precisely.
Right.
And they're surprisingly effective.
So how do these modern troll farms actually work? I know they use paid commentators and bots and things like that.
Right, but it's much more sophisticated than just random people posting comments.
So walk me through it. What does it actually look like in action?
Well, imagine an army of, well, digital puppeteers.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, these farms use sophisticated software to manage these vast networks of fake accounts.
So these aren't real people.
Some are, some aren't. Some are real people paid to comment, but many are bots.
So it's a mix.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they all work together. They flood social media with targeted messages.
And they're all pushing the same narrative.
Exactly. They harass journalists, they spread misinformation, and it's all designed to do one thing:
What's that?
erode public trust.
In everything. Or just certain things.
Well, it depends on the agenda. Sometimes it's about eroding trust in specific institutions.
Like the media.
Or the government. Exactly. Or it might be about creating chaos around a particular issue.
So it's all about manipulating your perception.
Of what's real, of what's true, of what to believe.
Just like they want to control the narrative.
Yes. And it's surprisingly effective.
It's scary, really. Like, how do we even know what to believe anymore?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Okay, but these methods, the internet, social media, this all seems very new.
It is in terms of technology. But the underlying goals,
What do you mean?
the desire to stir the pot, to disrupt, to control the narrative, that's been around for centuries.
Really? Like all the way back to ancient times.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Even without the internet, people have always found ways to spread rumors, plant seeds of doubt, and influence public opinion.
Huh. I guess you're right. I never really thought about it like that before.
It's fascinating, really. If we go back in time, we can see these same tactics at play even without the technology we have today.
So, like, who are we talking about here? Did they even have e-trolls back in ancient Greece?
Oh, they absolutely did. In fact, one of the most famous philosophers of that era, Diogenes of Sinope, he was basically the OG troll,
Wait, seriously, the guy who lived in a barrel.
the one and only. This guy, he was known for his provocative behavior, always mocking societal norms and powerful figures.
So, like, what would he do?
Well, there's this famous story about him walking around Athens in broad daylight carrying a lit lamp.
A lamp? In the day.
Exactly. And when people asked him what he was doing, he'd say he was searching for an honest man.
Oh, I get it.
Uh,
It was a way to call out hypocrisy.
Precisely. He was basically saying, look at all these supposedly upstanding citizens, and yet I can't find a single honest one. It was a brilliant way to expose the flaws in Athenian society.
That's hilarious. And kind of genius in a way. To think that kind of subversive humor has been around for so long.
It has, and it's still effective today. But let's move ahead a few centuries to Renaissance Italy.
Oh, okay. Who are we trolling now? The Medici.
Well, there's a theory about Machiavelli and his famous book, The Prince.
Wait, the book, that's basically a guide to being a ruthless ruler?
That's the one. But some scholars believe that it was actually intended as a giant troll.
Seriously.
They argue that Machiavelli, who was living in exile at the time, actually wrote The Prince as a way to sabotage Lorenzo de' Medici, the ruler of Florence.
So he was like giving him bad advice on purpose.
Exactly. Imagine writing a guide so terrible, so obviously manipulative, that it would actually undermine the very power it claimed to help achieve.
Whoa, talk about playing the long game. So the prince was like an early form of political sabotage.
That's the theory. And it's pretty compelling when you consider the context of Machiavelli's life and the political climate at the time.
That's incredible. It really makes you think about the different ways trolling can manifest.
It does. It's not always just about being mean or disruptive. Sometimes it's about using wit and satire to make a point.
Like Diogenes with his lamp, searching for an honest man.
Exactly. Okay, but let's fast forward a few more centuries. Let's go to pre-revolutionary France.
Ooh, the French Revolution. Okay, I'm ready for some juicy gossip.
Well, you're in luck. King Louis VI, he had his own personal troll problem.
What? From like the peasants? Or his advisors?
Nope. His trolls came from a much closer source. His own brothers.
No way, his own family.
The Comte de Provence and the Comte d'Artois, they were notorious for spreading nasty rumors about Louis and Marie Antoinette.
Oh, come on, royal gossip. Spill the tea. What kind of rumors were they spreading?
They'd question Louis's competence, make fun of Marie Antoinette's spending habits. They even questioned the legitimacy of their children.
Savage. But did people believe them?
Well, enough people did. And it had a real impact.
Seriously? Like how?
This constant stream of negativity, it was an early form of fake news, right? It chipped away at the monarchy's reputation.
So basically, royal gossip helped fuel the French Revolution.
In a way, yes. It shows how even whispers and rumors, when targeted at the right people, can turn into a roar of discontent.
It's a reminder that information warfare has always been a thing. The tools might have changed, but the tactics remain surprisingly similar.
Exactly. Speaking of which, let's hop across the Atlantic to America in the late 18th century.
Okay, who are we trolling over there?
None other than George Washington himself.
No way. The father of our country.
Yeah.
Who would dare troll George Washington?
Well, Benjamin Franklin Bash, the publisher of the Philadelphia Aurora, he had no problem going after the president.
Benjamin Franklin Bash. Any relation to, well, the Benjamin Franklin?
He was Ben Franklin's grandson, actually. But unlike his grandfather, Bash was known for his sharp tongue and his willingness to use his newspaper to attack his political opponents.
So what was he writing about Washington?
Oh, you name it. Bash published a barrage of attacks on Washington's policies, his character, even his personal life.
Like fake news about Washington.
He often used unverified claims, often sourced from Washington's political rivals. He was a pioneer of what we now call fake news, really.
So even back then, people were using the power of the press to manipulate public opinion.
Absolutely. Bash's attacks on Washington showed how printed media could be used to shape the narrative, even in America's early days.
So we've gone from ancient Greece to Renaissance Italy to 18th century America. Wow. This history of trolling is way more extensive than I ever imagined.
It is, and it just keeps evolving. But let's jump ahead to the early 20th century. I want to talk about one of my favorite trolls, H.L. Mencken.
H.L. Mencken, the journalist and social critic.
That's the one. Now, this guy was a master satirist, and he pulled off one of the greatest trolls in history.
Okay, I'm all ears. What did he do?
He wrote a completely fabricated history of the bathtub.
A history of the bathtub. What's there to make up about bathtubs?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Mencken, with a completely straight face, claimed that bathtubs were initially considered immoral and dangerous to your health in America.
No way.
People believe that.
They did. His article was so well written, so convincing, that people actually believed him for decades.
That's hilarious, but also kind of scary. Like, it shows how easily we can be fooled, especially if the story is entertaining enough.
Exactly. Mencken's bathtub hoax is a classic example of how even a well-crafted lie, presented with enough confidence, can take root in the public imagination.
It's a reminder to be skeptical. And to double-check our sources, especially when something sounds too good to be true.
Or too ridiculous to be true in this case.
It reminds me of Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast.
Oh yes, a classic example of unintentional trolling.
I mean, it wasn't intended as a hoax or anything like that.
No, it was just a radio drama. But people panicked. They genuinely believed aliens were invading.
It just goes to show the power of media, even when it's not intentionally trying to manipulate us. Exactly. War of the Worlds perfectly illustrates how media can stir emotions, create chaos, and manipulate mass perception, even unintentionally.
It makes you wonder, like, where's the line between trolling and just, well, plain old misinformation?
That's a question we grapple with all the time now, especially at the internet and social media.
True. But not all trolls are malicious, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Some trolls, well, They're more about playful disruption than outright harm.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, have you ever heard of Emperor Norton?
Emperor Norton.
Yes, Emperor Norton the First, Emperor of America.
Wait, what? I've never heard of this guy.
Oh, he's a legend. Joshua Norton, an eccentric San Francisco resident in the 19th century, declared himself Emperor of America.
So he was like delusional.
Maybe, but mostly just mischievous. He'd issue proclamations like abolishing Congress and even printed his own currency.
And people took him seriously.
Well, not really, but they loved him. He was a local celebrity.
So he was a troll, but a harmless one.
Exactly. Emperor Norton's story shows how trolling can be lighthearted, even endearing.
It's amazing how this behavior has persisted throughout history, evolving with the times and taking on all these different forms.
It's a testament to human nature, I suppose.
Our need to poke fun at authority, to question the status quo, and to sometimes just, stir things up.
It's a part of who we are, for better or worse.
But with the internet amplifying everything, every voice, every claim,
It makes it harder to separate fact from fiction.
it does. So how do we do it? How do we avoid falling prey to modern-day trolls and misinformation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It feels like every day there's a new scam, a new conspiracy theory, a new attempt to manipulate us online.
And it's only going to get more sophisticated.
So what can we do?
Well, it starts with being aware, knowing that these tactics exist, that people are actively trying to manipulate us online.
Okay, awareness is the first step. Then what?
Then it's about developing our critical thinking skills.
Not just blindly believing everything we see online.
Exactly. We need to question our sources, consider the biases of the information we're consuming.
Do your own research.
Exactly. Don't just take someone's word for it. Dig a little deeper, look for evidence, consider different perspectives.
And be wary of anything that seems too sensational, too good to be true.
Or anything that plays on your emotions, your fears, your prejudices.
It's about being a discerning consumer of information.
Exactly. And it's more important now than ever.
Well said. We've come a long way on this journey, from ancient Greece to the modern internet. And it's clear that trolling, in all its forms, is here to stay.
It is. It's a part of our history, and it's a part of our present.
So to our listeners out there, stay vigilant, stay informed, and don't be afraid to question everything.
Question your sources, question your assumptions, and most importantly, question your own beliefs.
Because that's how we stay ahead of the trolls. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the long and winding history of trolling. It's been, well, a little unsettling
A bit sneaky.
and hopefully even a bit fun.
It has been. And it's given us all a lot to think about.
Until next time, folks, keep those critical thinking skills sharp